Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Marko Hietala, Roses from the Deep, out February 7th on Nuclear Blast. This album has 10 tracks, 54 minutes in length, and this is his second solo record. As far as the design of this record goes, and even the individual songs on this album, if I didn't know any better, I'd say this is his debut solo record. Why do I say that? Well, because this album offers a lot of unique characteristics on a song-by-song basis. It's an album where each individual track has their very own story to tell, musically, vocally, lyrically. You normally see that on a debut album because there's a lot more time to work on that debut record. So a song that the artist created earlier on in the process normally sounds and feels completely different than one that came closer to the finish line. This album has that sort of essence to it when it comes to the individual songs. And then in the way they're put together on this record, it emphasizes it even more because it creates ebbs and flows on a track-by-track basis. You're not going to find two songs very similar in terms of the texture, in terms of the dynamics, in terms of the sound, in terms of the overall approach. It's a very dynamic album, it's a very fluid album from that perspective. So it's an interesting approach for a record that comes in as his second solo album. Now, as far as the sound on this record is concerned, this is a rock album. Through and through, this is a rock record. Now, it's a rock record that showcases different shades of rock. Because rock is not just one format, not just one approach. There's multiple ways of creating a rock song. And this album showcases you 10 different ways in which you can create a rock track. But at the end of the day, the production behind this album really emphasizes that rock essence, that live rock essence that this album carries through. And you don't have to look too deep into the sound to find where that experience comes from. How does it bubble all the way to the top? You just have to look at the guitar sound. The guitar sound on this album is phenomenal. Out of the two solo records that Marko has released, this one has by far the best guitar sound all around. The most dynamic, the most live sounding album, the most perhaps aggressive, and definitely the most diverse. I love what they did here, infusing different styles, different sounds, different perspectives, some tracks bringing a little bit of that Black Sabbath feel, some tracks bringing a little bit more of a country, of a bluegrass, of a blues vibe, some tracks bringing in some doom elements, some bringing in a little bit more of an epic experience like arena rock. There's a little bit of everything for everybody sound-wise, but the guitars are so incredibly important and the impact that they have on each and every single song that's impossible to go through this album and not appreciate the incredible guitar work that went into it. And this might seem a little bit strange because we're talking about Marko Hietala. He's known for singing, he's known for playing bass, he's known for a lot of other things as well, but expecting an album from him, a solo record from him with this kind of guitar sound perhaps will surprise some. I feel like this album really allowed him to showcase his range vocally, allowed him to showcase what he can do with the bass, what he can do with songwriting as a whole, but it also gave the album enough room for the band members to be who they are and add their own flavor, their own DNA to this album, perhaps a lot more than what we saw on the debut record. And like I said, the guitar sound on this album is phenomenal. Really bringing itself and showcasing itself across each and every single song. Powerful, great solos, great leads, great melodies. I cannot speak highly enough of the overall guitar performance and guitar sound throughout the record. This is not to say that the drums, bass, keys, that they don't have an impact, that they don't sound good. They do, but they're there in order to almost comfort what the guitars are offering, putting them on a pedestal and providing all the right tools for those guitars to soar and to be one of the main focuses of the entire record sonically. Now, once you get into the vocals, Marko showcases his range. He's an incredible vocalist. And on an album like this, you're able to see how versatile he is with the different styles of rock, with the different styles of songs, with the different approaches. Either be duets, either be ballads, either be more pure rock and roll songs, a little bit more of a blues kind of track. His voice really fits the mold regardless of what's behind him. He is that kind of a singer that he's very versatile and his delivery. And overall, musically, this is a very versatile sounding record. So his performance vocally just matches what the album is already offering from a soundscape standpoint. Overall, this is a record that has a lot of right pieces in the right place. It's a very interesting album, and it's an album that the only surprise for me was that it didn't feel as connected as the debut record. Like I said, the debut record feels like the follow-up album, and this one sounds a lot more like a debut album. It's really interesting. The dynamic of these two records really feel switched, because this one is a lot more about the individuality of the songs, a lot less about the overall path and journey that the album's trying to take you on. And I was expecting perhaps the album to have a little bit more of that and a little bit less of this diverse approach. Having said that, I enjoyed the album tremendously, and as far as vocals and guitars, those are to me two major selling points of this overall record. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Proud Whore, a really interesting song. I feel like it's a very introspective song by Marko. Great guitar sound. This track, guitar-wise, not necessarily from what the guitars at the end of the day offer, or even from a vocal standpoint, but in terms of the essence of where this guitar sound is coming from, I felt like I was listening to No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne. That record, guitar sound-wise, is reflected tremendously on this track. Actually, I feel like there's a huge Ozzy influence, Black Sabbath Ozzy influence throughout the whole album from a guitar standpoint, but on this song I could really trace it down to No More Tears. It's a track that has that sort of vibe guitar-wise, where the guitars really ring through the song, allowing the vocals to be the other pillar of the overall song construction. The drums pack the sound well, but let's face the facts, it's all about creating a track that has a little bit more of a contained verses and then a more explosive chorus. The chorus is both explosive vocally and musically. It just sounds great. It has a little bit of darkness to it, not overly dark, but a little bit of darkness to it. It has an amazing solo that elevates the quality of the track, that really sets apart that guitar playing overall as far as the song is concerned, and then the vocals are the icing on the cake. The two elements that really sell this song are the same two elements that really sell No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne. Then we have Two Soldiers, a ballad, a duet, an incredible song. Acoustic guitars really allows the vocals to come to the forefront, allows that duet to work a lot better, and it's a super emotional track. I would say is one of the most emotional tracks on the record, even though this sounds to me as to be a very emotional record throughout. It doesn't matter which song you pick, all of them have a little bit of Marko in them, perhaps more than just a little bit, but there's a little bit of Marko that we're able as fans to see through these songs. Perhaps there's some that it could be seen between the lines, but this track, Two Soldiers, super emotional, and I think it feels more emotional because of the acoustic guitar playing, and then obviously the duet. That dynamic of two voices with acoustic guitars behind it works really well. Marko is amazing singer when it comes to duets. There's one with Tarja on this album, so there's just great quality as far as using someone else's voice to emphasize all his own strengths. And this song, I feel like it's one of those. It's an epic track, and it closes off on such an epic cinematic vibe for a track that overall is very mellow, with the acoustic guitar sound really predominating through. It closes off in such a cinematic experience that really puts an exclamation mark on the track itself. Last but definitely not least, Tammikuu, a track in Finnish. I'm a huge fan of Marko singing in Finnish, so I had to pick a song that has Marko singing in Finnish. This song does not disappoint. Perhaps of the three tracks that I picked, this is the most straightforward song, one that you would expect. Like it's a pure Finnish rock song, if that makes sense to you guys watching this video. It doesn't have too many extras. It doesn't have too many layers. It's really a rock song. You hear a lot of the bass. It's one of the tracks where the bass really pops. Easy to notice, easy to feel it, to see the impact that it adds, the grooviness that it gives to this rock and roll song, the way the guitars drive the track, the impact of the drums. You have a little bit of the synths in the background as more of a layer to this track, really allowing the rock elements to be in the forefront, and I think that's why it has that sense of simplicity. It works really well. It's just a straightforward, fun song to listen to. This is it. Marko Hietala with Roses from the Deep, his second record out February 7th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on Marko, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.